I'm making this video for two groups of people. One of you is the nosy Nellies, okay? I myself fall into the category of a nosy Nelly. I want to know how you got rejected. What did they say? I, as a person going into querying, was searching for some sort of like expectation of what querying is actually like and like what those rejections are going to actually look like. And so that's the second group of people that I'm making this video for, is anybody who's querying or maybe is going to query soon and is wondering like, what is it going to look like when they tear my heart out? I do just want to say right off the bat, I'm not a person who takes rejection very personally, specifically like form rejections. I know that this is an industry with a lot of rejection, and I know it's not personal. I don't have an attitude that's like, I deserve a literary agent and I'm the best writer in the world. You know, that is not my attitude. I understand that a rejection is a big part of this industry of traditional publishing. So if you don't know what querying is, it's essentially sending a package to literary agents to try to get representation, which is how you get into traditional publishing. That's just kind of the basic. And we're going to go through, I have created a slideshow for all of you so you can read my actual rejections. I blurred out any identifying information of agencies or agents. But I think that this is allowed. And the reason I think that is because on Query Tracker, which is the website where you kind of manage all of your outgoing queries, there's a comment section where people like copy and paste the rejections that they get or the responses that they get into that. So you can kind of see. If for some reason this is illegal, let me know, but it should be fine. Anyway, so we're going to go through my rejections today. Maybe just give you a little background. I'm querying my second book. All the rejections I'm showing are from that second book. I got many rejections on the first book I queried too, don't get me wrong. I do still have some submissions out with this book, but I've gotten enough back that I think it's kind of interesting. So the first part we'll talk about what form rejections. I'll just show you kind of a bunch of my form rejections so you can get an idea of what that looks like. Then I'll show some personalized rejections. There's not very many. And then I'll show the submission rejections that I've gotten so far. With those submission ones where they've read my work, I'll kind of talk a little bit about how I interpret and take that feedback, because I think that that's interesting. An important part of querying is to see what's going on. We are going to start with form rejections. Yay! Okay, so here's just 3 examples, kind of varying lengths of form rejections. The reason I know that they're form rejections is because if you go to the comment section of an agent on Query Tracker, you can see what they've said to other people. So all of these are things that they say to everybody that they reject. Thank you so much. Also, the word querying is going to be highlighted because this is how I searched my email and I forgot that it highlighted it. So just, it's fine. You know, thank you for giving me the opportunity to review. I read your letter and I'm going to pass. And then usually some agents have like a nice paragraph at the end or sentence at the end that's like, this is hard. Like, we get it. We're sorry. You know, which is nice to hear, but as you'll start to notice, it gets a little like when you hear it every time, it's like, is it really subjective or am I just terrible? It's really just subjective. Unfortunately, I'm going to pass. I'm going to step aside. These are my favorite words. I take on very few projects. Publishing is a marathon, not a sprint. All true. I don't mean to say it like that. These are all true. So here's another page of some query rejections, just for all you nosy Nellies. Project doesn't seem like a right fit is one that I get quite a bit. I like sometimes they put in something that like acknowledges the work of the author, which I appreciate. Like, we understand that you put work into this submission. It doesn't really make the rejection feel any better, if you're wondering, but they like wish you luck in your future journey. Very well intentioned. Literary agents are not the enemy, okay? They just have a really hard job. I like this one that says, I realize it's difficult to judge your potential from a query in the first 5 pages. Some of these agents have read more than others, so some have read like 20 pages or even 50. A couple people ask for the full manuscript in their initial submission, so you never really know. Here's another page. Again, just like the varying lengths. Some are email, some are on Query Tracker. A lot of publishing is a subjective business. You know, if you want to read these, you for sure can. Like, you can tell that the agents are making an effort to acknowledge the work and the pain, you know, which I think is really nice. This slideshow was very depressing to make. So anyway, Here's some other ones. Now, this one at the top, you might think to yourself, like, this is a long, like maybe they're giving you feedback. No, some form rejections are like 3 paragraphs long and they're very misleading. Here's some more. These are not even half of the rejections I've gotten on this. You might be thinking to yourself, Alyssa, are you a good writer? Anyway, there you go. Now we're going to move on to personalized rejections. The way I know these are personalized rejections is because what they say is not the same as the comment that other people have left. So truly the MVPs are the people who comment what their rejections are on Query Tracker, because then you can kind of see. So I have a few of these that I am pretty sure are personalized. It's kind of hard to tell. So this one says, the storyline isn't a good fit for me in my list. I've looked at this agent's comments, and she does not say this about everyone. Sometimes she says, the pages didn't pull me in. Sometimes she says the premise is lacking. Sometimes she just says, thank you, I'm going to pass, and doesn't give anything specific. So that's how I know that the storyline is not a good fit for this agent's list. Here's another one. Unfortunately, after the premise was engaging and interesting, I'm afraid I struggled to connect with your writing. It didn't propel me into the story the way that I'm looking for. I'm sorry I'm not emailing with better news and have no doubt that another agent would feel differently. I wish you all the best. So here the feedback is the premise is good, but the writing is bad, or the writing didn't pull them in. I've gotten this a few times. From me, maybe I'm wrong about this, but when I see a comment like this, it makes me think like they did not like my writing, typically, which is fine. Not everybody does. And we'll see. And once we get into the submission rejections, I think you'll really see that it is subjective. Like, it's easy to see at the end of the form rejection, this is a subjective business, but you can tangibly feel that once you get into the submission rejection. So we'll get there in a minute. This one was my favorite rejection. This rejection came from an intern. And anybody who poo-poos on literary agent interns, I don't understand. Interns are going to give you more than the actual agent will. Okay? So they say, thank you. While I found great potential with your query and synopsis, I felt the pages relied heavily on dialogue, leaving me wanting more character interiority, subtext, and sensory descriptions. That is the most actionable feedback I've ever seen in a form rejection. And it's not a form, but like a query sub rejection. Even though I found great qualities within your work, such as the intriguing theme revolving around a wedding DJ and the playful nature of the banter, I didn't quite connect with that as strongly. That is called a personalized rejection. Everybody clap for this literary agent intern. I love this person. Thank you. And I did actually do some edits to my opening page, and that's something I can apply to my whole book. And it's very true. Like, that kind of craft advice and feedback, invaluable. So now we're going to get into the submission rejections. Are you excited? There's quite a few. That sounded like a brag. It's not. Okay. So here's one. I think this was on a full. While there were elements of your pitch that I enjoyed, in the end, I do not have the enthusiasm for the project. This is going to be the most common. This is like a form rejection for submission. I didn't have the enthusiasm. I'm not the right person to champion. These are the words that they use, right? Please keep in mind that publishing is subjective. Keep querying, keep writing. I believe you will find every success. Sometimes I wonder, do you say that to everyone? But I'll believe it. So that was on a full. This one, I think, was on a 50 page. It was very basic. Thank you for submitting. I will not be pursuing representation. Publishing is a subjective business, and I'm sure agents will feel differently. Okay, this one threw me off because I was confused. So this is what it says. I read with interest. However, I felt myself wanting to see more of the frat brother, fiance, and bridezillas in the beginning. So in my query letter, I have a line that's like, with a frat boy fiance, and like bridezilla, like just kind of like introducing the tone of the book. And it includes the term frat bro, fiance, and bridezillas. What I think is interesting is like, if you read the book, that's what most of the beginning is. But what I'm gathering from this is the agent was expecting a different type of conflict, like expecting this wedding book that revolved around the bridezillas and like that kind of thing, which the wedding season does revolve around weddings, but it revolves around a wedding DJ more so than the brides. So that's kind of what I took from this rejection, is that the agent was expecting it to be about the brides more so, like having more of that like in a wedding feel, which I feel is in the book, but not in the way that this agent was wanting. So one piece of feedback I could take from this is to adjust my query letter to make sure it accurately represents the book. But I got this one like a couple months ago, and I'm pretty much done querying this book now. I have outstanding stuff, but I'm not sending any new letters. Ooh, this one, we're back. If you have been around, you might recognize this rejection. I got this over the summer. It gives very specific edits. So this is a little bit of an anomaly. So the reason for this rejection was I enjoyed the flow and the read of your writing. Unfortunately, this needs more line edits than I currently have time to take. And then listing out some things editing wise that I was doing incorrectly. So comma splices, far too many ly adverbs, too many duplicate tags, double punctuation. I always sound so defensive, and I'm really trying not to, because this is very, very helpful feedback from this agent. If it's helpful, this agent also has a self-editing document, which is super helpful. And then she puts at the end, I have extremely high expectations and try to only take on manuscripts that are submission ready, just because of the number of submissions that this agent receives. Yeah, so that's that rejection. I think this one was just especially frustrating because you hear in writing spaces that, like, when you query a book, it doesn't have to be proofread, you know? But actually, I think I've changed my opinion about this. I was very, I would say, upset when I first got this, because I was like, are you kidding? It's just a comma. But upon doing a much more in-depth line edit of my current book, seeing the impact that fixing a lot of these things has, and I had thought that I fixed that, but I just didn't have the knowledge at the time. Seeing the impact that has on a book, I get it. I'm like, yes, okay, I agree. So, but also she could have just sent a form, you know? And so I do appreciate any sort of personalized feedback. All right, let's get, this one also on a full. Thank you for your submission. I appreciate the opportunity. I liked this one. You have a lot of potential and you're a skilled writer. Thank you. And this is one where the editorial vision didn't quite work. The thing is, everybody says that, so I'm like, is that really what it... But I think it's really true, because, like, an agent can like a book and not have a vision for it and pass, you know? But it does always make me wonder, just like personally, like, this is a me thing. Was it actually the writing? Was there actually something about the writing that it could have done to make it align with your vision more? But we have to move forward, everyone. This is a practice in humility. And again, I am not owed an agent. I am not owed time from these writing professionals. They are taking a time out of their day to read it. So I put 2 on this one because this one was so tiny. This one actually hurt. This one made me feel sad. It says the moving parts of this novel. This was also a full. I feel like you're going to leave this video and be like, man, Alyssa can't write. The moving parts of this novel were fun and intriguing, but I'm afraid I didn't turn the pages as swiftly or as satisfyingly as one should. In a subjective business, other readers are sure to lock in 100%. Hope you find a more fitting and enthusiastic advocate. A little bit of the stab to the heart. A little bit of the stab, like, just didn't read it well. And that one feels like it could be about pacing, but also that this agent just didn't jive with my writing, which is okay. I actually put these 2 on the same page because I thought it was interesting. So this other rejection is one of my favorites. It says, this was also on a full. I'm a big fan of the premise and setting. There's much to recommend about this story. Your writing at a line level is propulsive, and I stayed up late reading. However, after careful consideration, the plot didn't quite come together as much as I needed to move forward. And then an agent who feels a special connection will have better ideas of how to champion your work. So I wanted to put these 2 together because I think it illustrates, like, this top agent didn't I think it's funny, even the wording, like, I didn't turn the pages as swiftly. And then this other agent, both read the same manuscript, said she stayed up late reading. Are you kidding? That in itself, I read this rejection, and I was disappointed because it was like, this one felt like maybe I was closer, you know? But also to hear, like, so many complimentary things, like, of things I'm doing right is so helpful. The premise and the setting, the line level being propulsive, like, that means so much to me because line level prose is something I really struggle with and I've worked really hard on. So yeah, and also this rejection was one to make me really look at my endings more specifically. And I don't know if that's even, I don't even know if this agent got to the end of my book, but saying like the story coming together. And so now with Gas Station, which I'm editing right now, I'm very focused on making sure everything comes together in a satisfying way. Because there was another one that said like it didn't come together. I don't know if I put this one on here. I think I did. I think these are all my rejections, but said something similar. And I got those two within a week. And I was like, maybe I can't write an ending of a book. And then at the end, she says, I'm so sorry not to offer you representation. And the so in that sorry made me not happy, but like it makes it feel to me, it's all just about my feelings. It makes me feel as though she really considered it, you know? And to get even that kind of consideration, like you saw how many pages of full rejection or of form rejections I've gotten. Like to get a response like this is an indicator to me that I'm moving in the right direction. I might not be there quite yet, but I'm getting there, you know? And this is the last one so far. I do have a few outstanding submissions, but yeah. So this one also very, very kind. I was drawn in by the unique premise and your sparkling voice. First time my voice is propulsive and now it's sparkling. Are you okay? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass. While I enjoyed a lot about this before taking on something in this competitive market, I want to have a clear vision and strategy. Unfortunately, while there are marketable elements to the story, the strategy didn't quite crystallize for me, which is an indicator that I might not be the right fit. With that said, I encourage you to keep submitting this. I truly hope my stepping aside clears the path for another agent to be the perfect match and a passionate advocate for you, this story, and your career overall. Many thanks for the opportunity to consider your work. This one and the last one, I like the care that I can tell goes into this writing, this response. Really does mean so much to me. And it's interesting because in those form rejections, they say similar things that are like, this is a really subjective business. I need to have a clear vision. Like all of those are things that are in a lot of form rejections too. But to see like, this feels so genuine and again, makes me feel like I'm headed in the right direction. One thing that I've been struggling with getting this many, like, first of all, getting this many requests is a huge win. And I don't want to downplay that because I know that, like, my first book that I queried, I sent a similar amount of queries. I got, I think, a partial and a full request total, 2, right? And for this book, I don't know quite what I'm at right now. I think around 10. And so even that is a huge win. But when all those rejections started to come back, which is very normal, you know, like they've only read 5 pages when they ask to get it. But it started to feel like maybe I can write a good query letter and a good first 10, but I can't execute the ending. But you'll notice that's not what any of these agents said. Maybe one or two of them implied it, but they're talking about strategy. They're talking about editorial vision. They're talking about being the right fit. And it's okay. I still have 3 out. I still have a number of them out, and those might come back as rejections as well. But it's helpful to even see the difference between those two, because just as these 2 agents saw my work differently, there might be somebody reading it right now or somebody who reads my next book who like reads it and gets it and wants it, because I don't want an agent who doesn't fully resonate and doesn't have a clear vision for my book. I don't want that, you know, and you shouldn't want that. I've taken them seriously, but not personally. Like, it's so easy to read a rejection like this and say like, well, they're just saying that I have a sparkling voice. They're just saying that. They wouldn't just say that, right? It's easier to think that about form rejections, but I really am trying to take what these agents say and apply it to my writing right now, which means so I've actually, getting these rejections, I've been leaning into my voice more. I've been leaning into my line level prose more, because I think 2 or 3 agents said like there was something like they weren't turning the pages swiftly. They didn't connect on a line level, right? So I'm focusing more on my line level prose. That rejection that had a lot of details about copy and line edits, I've taken those steps of my process more seriously and just really tried to take these rejections as they are, which is like industry feedback, which is really, really valuable. So those are my rejections for this book. I also have rejections for a different book, but those seem like so far away now. I finished that book in 2021, 2022, around there. And I know I have grown leaps and bounds since then. And so I hope that this is encouraging to you or maybe depressing if you're headed into the query trenches. Don't compare yourself to me ever, please. I also, in the midst of this, did an edit to my query letter, and after that got much more feedback and requests. Like I said, I went through many rounds with my query letter and many rounds with my first 10. This book is my fourth, I believe, book that I wrote. So if you're going into the trenches, or maybe you're in the trenches with your first book and you aren't seeing like even one request, write the next book. Okay? Like these agents say, it's so subjective. And if you're lucky enough, I don't know if I would say lucky to get rejections, but like I know I am lucky to get this kind of feedback on my writing and on my work. And I hope that the next time we talk about querying, I have some more exciting news for you. But I was thinking about, I would love to see other people's rejections because I'm nosy, but I also want to see, is this what agents are saying to everybody? Is this what I can expect to hear? So let me know if you found this video valuable. Thank you for watching. I wish you the best on your querying journey or whatever journey you're on. Slay. I will see you so soon. Comment down below a red X mark. Give me a green check. Give me a green check mark. I will see you so soon. Thank you for being here. Bye.